Carlos Icy with ESPN LA on the road to recovery, presented by Hoag Orthopedic Institute. Always happy to be joined by Dr. Alan Beyer. Dr. Beyer, happy holidays.
Same back at you, Karlo. It's that time of the year, isn't it? My favorite.
I mean, it gets so busy during the holidays, but all that busyness is also all the action-packed action in the NFL, and we're talking about injuries too. We got a big one tonight. Justin Herbert and the Chargers taking on the Philadelphia Eagles, the defending Super Bowl champs. Justin Herbert is playing, according to Coach Jim Harbaugh. But what makes it more interesting, Dr. B, Herbert's coming off surgery just this week alone. So, Doc, explain what you've seen and what you've heard regarding his hand injury, the surgery that comes with it, and how he's going to play.
Well, it's a finger fracture from what I've been led to understand. Probably fixed with either a few pins or plate, very small plate, and some small screws. If this had been a wrist fracture, he would not be playing 1 week later. Okay, so the fact that it's a finger and he can be in a soft cast, it's a non-throwing hand, obviously. He's going to certainly give it the college try. That said, that soft cast might as well have a red target painted on it, because you know what's going to be happening with the Philadelphia Eagles and seeing that target on that left hand. He'll be playing out of the shotgun, obviously. He's not going to take snaps under center because that's far more traumatic to the non-throwing hand. He can do it. I mean, 2 years ago, he had a dislocated finger, and they popped it back in. I remember Derek Carr doing that a bunch of years ago. I mean, fingers on a non-throwing hand, yeah, they slightly impede your ability to take the snap and obviously to take it under center. But in a shotgun, he should be able to handle that. He certainly did well after it happened in the game, last
He
week.
played the rest of the week,
Yep.
week 13.
So I think it's doable. The thing that worries me the most is that the Chargers offensive line, which has been plagued by injuries this year, last one being Alt to go out a few weeks ago. We saw last night in the Kansas City game how a depleted offensive line can put even the greatest quarterback right now in the NFL, arguably, at risk and make mistakes and not get the job done. So that worries me a little. How well will the remaining offensive line be able to protect Justin Herbert, who's going to need a little bit more than the usual amount of protection?
Yeah, the Chargers lost Slater at the start of the season, Alt now, like you mentioned. But when you're Jalen Carter and the Eagles defense, you kind of alluded to it. You're just salivating right now at taking a swipe at his non-throwing hand. What kind of danger is Justin Herbert putting himself in possibly doing further damage?
Well, theoretically, if he takes a hit the wrong way or goes down on the ground the wrong way, the finger could refracture, and that's a risk you take. It's probably a small risk because the fixation that we do with these fractures does make it pretty rigid, almost as good as if it weren't fractured. The question is does he fracture the plate that's in there as well, which can happen. I think you're going to see the Chargers put a lot of stress, at least in the opening periods, on the running game, try to establish the run, take the pressure off of Herbert in terms of not having to pass. And we'll see how it goes. It's not as if the Philadelphia Eagles, in spite of being the defending champions, have been playing lights out football the first 12 weeks of the season. I mean, they've been very, very suspect, even though they have a strong defensive line. I think that it is a game to be played here. It is a home game for the Chargers. That helps. It's not freezing cold weather, which would have been made a little bit more of an issue. So there's a few things in favor of the Chargers, but they both have equal records, if I'm not mistaken. So, and this is an important game for both sides, especially now the Chargers have a shot at winning their division.
Doc, I'm curious, how would the Chargers team doctors and just the treatment team alone, how are they going to look at Herbert's hand, not just for the rest of the game, but for the season as well, and how they're going to
If you judged him able to play tonight, 1 week after the fracture was fixed, I think it's just you go on business as usual. You keep them in the soft cast. I think 6 or 7 games of the season. If but you just play it as you're playing it tonight. You don't get less protective in 2 or 3 weeks. The fracture's not healed in 2 or 3 weeks, right? It's the plate and screws that's keeping everything together, not his bone healing that quickly. So you just got to basically treat him the same way. It does change your offensive game plan a little bit, in that I think you're going to go a little bit more toward trying to run the ball more. They have a running back coming back tonight, which certainly takes a
Amari and
little bit of the,
Hampton, yeah,
yep,
coming off the
takes a little
IR.
bit of the heat off. That helps. But I think that you're going to see them rely a little bit more on the run, and hopefully they don't fall far behind. The Philly offense has not been exactly lights out, so maybe they don't have to worry about the explosiveness of, say, a Denver or even the old Kansas City Chiefs. So we'll have to just see how it goes.
We're already talking about a quarterback who's playing through some injury. How about let's talk about another one who is unfortunately now out for the season due to the injury. Daniel Jones. He suffered a broken fibula. He decided to play through it. It was kind of cringe to see the weight of him placing the weight on his back leg as he was trying to throw, and he plays and he tears his Achilles. Um, is there any relationship between that, a broken fibula on one leg and then tearing his Achilles on the other?
Um, you know, it's hard to say that with any scientific, weight behind it. The fact that his fractured fibula was obviously higher up the fibula, it wasn't down at the ankle, because he wouldn't have been able to play on that. Okay. So this was probably a mid-shaft fibular fracture from a direct blow from a helmet or something like that, which is an injury that typically when we see it in recreational athletes, you walk it off and you go back to activity as you feel comfortable to do so. I'm sure he had some kind of protective shield over it as well under his uniform pants. Putting more weight on his other leg to try to not be fully weight bearing on the fractured fibula probably happened to some extent, but I don't know that you can say that that's related to an Achilles tendon tear. An Achilles tendon tear happened because, his foot was planted and he either hyperflexed it or somebody rolled up it, and that's the way an Achilles tendon rupture occurs. It's terribly sad because he was seeing such a resurgence of people who loved him after the way he was playing with the Giants, which just goes to show you a good quarterback could be on a really crappy team and look like a crappy quarterback. You put him on a good team, he could do okay. Sam Darnold is all world, right? Minnesota, and now this year Seattle. I mean, come on. This is you need other players around you. It ain't just the guy. And he was really gaining some respect in Indy, and this probably does it for them for the season.
Was there anything else notable that you saw in week 14?
I think the thing that impresses me the most is a lot of injured egos. I think the Alabama football team, injured egos. I think the Notre Dame football team, injured egos. I do not agree with their decision to not participate in a bowl game because they weren't chosen for the playoffs. That punishes your players. It took away the opportunity, especially for your seniors, to play in a bowl game just as for spite because you didn't get named in the college football playoffs. So I think that a lot of injured egos out there. I think the Indiana quarterback is a shoo-in for the Heisman. I was very surprised by that game, to tell you the truth. The
No, I
Indiana
think
Ohio
we all
State
are.
game.
Right? Indiana beating Ohio State. I don't think
And
any-
Georgia looked awful darn strong against Alabama. So, I mean, a Georgia-Indiana national championship, if that comes to pass, is going to be a great game. I mean, I've just seen a lot out of Georgia.
Just like how we all expected, right? Georgia versus Indiana. But Doc, as you were talking about, the bruised egos no more than Notre Dame. For them to say that, I saw another interview today that the AD said that they did permanent damage to the relationship between the committee and Notre Dame. I think there's a lot of boo-hoo going on. But can you imagine being a senior on the verge of at least having a chance to close out your college football career playing in the college football playoff, But instead, yeah, the committee didn't give you a chance. But now your own team is saying, no, your career is over.
Right. I don't agree with it at all. I think it's a poor decision. I think that Notre Dame did get somewhat cheated. A 3-loss team got in ahead of them, and they only had 2 losses. I don't buy this whole thing about, oh, it was the beginning of the season
Strength of
or something
schedule.
like that.
Mhm.
That's baloney. You lost, you lost. And fortunately, next year, with Lane Kiffin as the coach, LSU is going to be the national champion, right?
Thank you very much, Doc. And what's going on Doc in the Dugout?
Doctor the Dugout. This week we have Dr. Victor Hong, who's one of our new foot and ankle surgeons at Hoag Orthopedic Institute. And next week I'll have Nick Lowry, former place kicker. Nick Lowry. He'll have a lot to say. He's always got a lot to say. He'll have a lot to say about what's going on in Kansas City.
Place kickers, punters, kickers having podcasts. I mean, Pat McAfee might be starting his own little channel for more. So thanks again, Doc.